Hi, I'm Michelle, and today we're going to be exploring teaching social transformation in and for the geography classroom. The article that I based this assignment on is called Teaching Geography for Social Transformation, and it is from the Journal of Geography in Higher Education.
So what is social transformation? Well, it is change, whether that be on a local level, just in your own neighbourhood, or on a global level, where legislations and laws are altered. Social transformation is change. We undergo social change every day. Any interaction that we have with anyone on a day-to-day basis will affect our perceptions on various topics. They will accumulate to mould our very opinions about the world that we live in. So if this is a process that happens every day in our life, why do high school students, especially year 11s and 12s, have to learn about social transformation? A simple answer? Because it's in the curriculum. It says in the curriculum that students will develop knowledge and understanding about the global and local forces which impact on people, ecosystems, urban places, and economic society. It also says that students will develop informed and responsible values and attitudes toward a just society. They will examine the geographical nature of global challenges confronting humanity, and they will identify the vocational relevance of a geographical perspective. It is utterly relevant to the world that we live in as well.
For example, did you know that 80% of the world's gross domestic product is held by 1 billion people in the developed world? And that the remaining 20% is shared by the rest of the 6 billion people living in the developing countries? What about this one? The proportion of global population living in extreme poverty has declined between 1981 and 2001, which is really, really good. But in sub-Saharan Africa, the problem has worsened so much. You know why? Because of the HIV and AIDS epidemic. How is this fair? These are geographical issues that we as teachers can present to our students in the classroom. And then these students can come up with a myriad of solutions, as well as consider what the effects of their solutions will be.
So why social transformation? As already highlighted, there is a very large social injustice in our world. Our education system needs to address the major developments of the world that we study. There is a growing gap between the rich and the poor, their access to health and education, their representation in legislation and judicial processes. We as geography teachers can explore these social contrasts in the curricula. We get a renewed moral imperative to teach for change in this heavily divided world. But what about sustainable development? This contains elements like climate change, resource use, species extinction. How are we going to meet the needs of the future generations? The article that we researched said, previously the argument has been that solutions to societal problems lie in hands outside of the classroom, such as governmental bodies. Is this true? I'm inclined to think not really. Classrooms can instead be a microcosm of the emancipatory societies we seek to encourage, and that the classroom remains the most radical space of possibility in the academy. I tend to agree with these comments a little bit more. The geography classroom should be a place where students can look into political matters as well as explore the meaning of social justice and equality on both a local and global scale. In the words of Valentine, this does not mean telling students what to think or value, but rather give them the skills to think through problems for themselves and to value argument, to allow them to debate about change and what they themselves and others are going to do to actually achieve it. So, what about teaching about social transformation? It involves 3 different elements. Teaching about social transformation, teaching for social transformation, and how are we actually going to teach social transformation? These are all interlinked. Teaching about social transformation leads to teaching for social transformation, and these are influenced by how we, as geography teachers, actually teach about the transformation. So geography itself actually lends itself to promote cultural empathy. Teaching about social transformation means that we are exposing our students to various cultures all around the globe that many of them may have never heard of before. The distinction between us and them can be challenged. We can eradicate or diminish negative views on gender, race, sexuality, disability, and nationality. And in the students' lives, teaching about social transformation can actually help them think about others. They can develop a willingness to accept others as equal, an understanding of the context from which another person comes from. and an acceptance that another person's views might be just as valid as their own. So how are we actually going to teach this? Well, what about the teacher? Their background, context, and experiences will have an impact on their position about social transformations. These elements reinforce their views about the world and influence their approach to social transformation. This is where the student comes in. According to Cook, they need to learn to trust their own rather than solely the teacher's interpretations of things. The issues that the students take personally are the ones that they're going to likely transform in society. We as teachers need to ask, does our teaching reinforce the established order, or does it help to transform society? If we want to see transformation in society, we need to critically reflect on our teaching and our value systems and let others do the same for us. The article makes a really profound statement and says that most of our teaching is based on a flawed assumption that learning is an individual process. I don't think it is. Teaching for social transformation is aimed at changing society. So how do we actually engage the students? We need to encourage them to be active in their local neighbourhood so that they can be involved in actions, discussions, and reflections that make a difference to the communities that they value. This is community-based work. This is students actually making a difference in their society. So who's going to do the teaching? Geography teachers. They're the ones that come and go. But what about the ones that are already there? What about the future teachers of geography? What are they going to bring to the classroom? Johnson, Bailey and Cervico point out that when learners and teachers enter classrooms, they bring the positions in the hierarchies that order the world, including those based on race, gender, class, sexual orientation and disability. These are the people that are shaping the future generations to advocate for social justice, to be active global citizens. So the teachers come with their own baggage, such as the ones that we just mentioned before, the race, gender, class, sexual orientation and disability, but they're not alone. The institutions that they teach in will also contribute to social transformation and how they actually teach it in Stage 6 geography. Some of the schools are centralised, some are in local towns, but are really rural. They don't have many resources, they have a larger demographic profile or a smaller one. Some have more funding than other schools. And that's really going to affect how the teachers can actually teach the curricula. So there's also pressure for the students as well to pursue technical education rather than undertake studies that promote critical thinking and exposure to alternative worldviews. All of these will impact the students' learning experience in the classroom.
The 21st century is calling to us with open arms, and with it brings major geographical issues, such as the misuse of the Earth's resources, environmental degradation, climate change, global inequality, and intercultural relations. But as teachers, we have the absolute privilege to teach about that and teach about change that can create a world that is more sustainable and equal. In the curriculum, it would be so beneficial to have the following elements: critical thinking related to world problems, a multicultural, anti-racist and pro-justice elements that are really culturally sensitive, to have studies that require participation and experience, to have lots of elements of joy, hope, happiness, and especially vision. It's really important for our students to have big visions. To promote activism, to have rigorous academia, and to have the students be concerned with issues that are outside the classroom walls. So, I leave you with just 2 questions, just as the article has left me with 2 questions. Number 1, to what extent are you committed to teaching about social transformation in the classroom? As far as social transformation is a part of your values, how much does your teaching and the curriculum actually line up?